Northwood takes on a 1-4 Lake Erie team this weekend at home. This is a Lake Erie team coming off of a win against Thomas More. The only opponent both of these teams have faced this week. Both of these teams have beat Thomas More. You had a really close game between Thomas More and Northwood. You obviously have a pretty close game between Lake Erie and Thomas More. So obviously, with that being said, there's not a ton of crossover. You can obviously learn a little bit about both of these teams just specifically because you do have that matchup between both of them. But this is a Lake Erie team that has struggled offensively to be able to put up points. I do think it does matter about who these guys have played, though, because they have played Ferris State. They have played Findlay. I've talked about both of them, how they're both great defenses. So I think that's going to play a little bit of factor into it. Now, with that being said, I think Northwood is a really good defense. I think this Northwood team will cause issues for Lake Erie. I think Lake Erie will attack through the air. That's what this team has primarily done. I think it's going to be a lot of through Makari Jackson, I think Ali Lee Jr., Devin Morgan, and you also have Rico Small. I think it's going to be those four guys that you might want to keep an eye on for this team. There's also a couple quarterbacks that have played as well. You have Rentree Martin, has 61 attempts on the year, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, played in 4 games. You also have Brady Clark that has 89 attempts, 5 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. So obviously that's not a great touchdown to interception ratio, but both of them have played in 4 games so far. Like, you're really going to have to kind of keep an eye on for who's going to be kind of the guy that's really going to be the starter for this Lake Erie team. Now, if you look at what Northwood has done defensively against the pass and just defensively as a whole, I've already talked a lot about what this Northwood team has done. I talked a lot about how good they are defensively, and you really truly have to talk about this pass defense for Northwood, because if you want to really point out one strength of this defense, I think it's through the air. They've been able to stop teams from throwing the ball. And I think that's a big reason why Lake Erie will not win this game, because of what Northwood has done defensively. You have guys like Cole Simpson that has been great at stopping the pass. You've also had a couple other guys that have been really impactful through the secondary as well. I think you have to mention Lorenzo Alfred has been great through the air. Michael Woods Jr. has been great. You have a couple other guys I really want to talk about as well. I think not only those guys, but Avari Thomas as well. Like, you have guys that are defensive backs that have been involved a ton. And it's because of those guys not only be able to get up, make tackles on the line of scrimmage. Cole Simpson has 3 interceptions on the year. You also have Joe Lathers. I know he's a linebacker. He has 1 interception on the year. He's someone to keep an eye on. Lorenzo Alfred, I mentioned, 1 interception on this year. This Northwood team overall has a ton of interceptions. I believe they have 7 interceptions on the entire year. These guys force turnovers, and when you have a couple of quarterbacks that have been a little bit turnover happy, I think that's really going to truly be a big factor in this game. Now, when Northwood hasn't been able to force turnovers, that's been a little bit of an issue. It was really the Ashland game that they weren't as efficient forcing turnovers, but when they can force you to make mistakes, and they're really good at doing that, this is a defense that doesn't allow a ton of points. They only allow 12 points a game, and you have a Lake Erie team offensively that averages 15 points a game. Now, offensively, if you look at what Northwood has done, it's averaged 22 points a game. Like, they've been able to do it through the air, run the ball a little bit effectively. I feel like that's another key thing for this game is you look at just kind of the balance that Northwood has offensively and defensively, just overall their approach. And when they have played teams that I think are less talented or evenly as talented as them, they've been able to win those games. I don't know if you can necessarily argue about Ashland. Now, I do think that Ashland did get off to a good start. I just think Northwood struggled offensively. If this offense does not struggle for Northwood, they're going to win a ton of games. I truly feel like this offense has good enough weapons, has guys that they can get to, and I feel like this offense overall is too good to be struggling as much as they have been. Now, again, I think Ashland in itself is a good defense. I don't think this Lake Erie team is anywhere close to the defense that they faced last week. I think this Northwood team should be able to win this game. I predict them to win this game because I truly think that the way that this Northwood team attacks their opponents is truly a lot more difficult to stop than a team in Lake Erie that truly attacks an opponent one way, especially when it comes to an offensive style. It's going to be a lot through the air. I think the secondary is too good for Northwood. I think they're going to continue to get stops. I think they're going to continue to play the way that they want to play. And I think offensively they're going to be able to attack through the air. I think they're going to be able to run the ball a little bit on this Lake Erie defense, because this defense for Lake Erie has given up 181 yards on the ground, 242 yards through the air. If you want to feel good about yourself and putting up points, I think this is a real opportunity for Northwood to do that. I think they're going to do that, and because of that, I think this Northwood team is going to end up having a couple big performances from guys like Cole Simpson from the defensive back room. But I think offensively, they're going to have great performances. I think you're going to get Ethan Hamby involved. I think you're going to get Lake Boost involved. Paul Seeley has been involved at the quarterback position. Case Boost, Devin Brown, Carter Minks, Clayton Boone, Sam Dursa, Jake Townsend. You're going to get these guys involved, and if you can get a little bit more through the run game, I think that's going to truly be a huge part of this offense. And really the biggest difference of this game is not only their attack through the air, but how they're able to run this ball. I truly feel like they're going to be able to do both of those against this Lake Erie team. And because of that, I have Northwood end up winning this game. They're going to defend home field. They're going to continue to win games in the GMAC. I know obviously Northwood's probably very disappointed about what happened against Ashland, but like I said, truly when this Northwood team goes up against teams that they should beat, I think they're going to continue to beat them, and I think that's one of these things that truly happens in this game. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the game. Let me know what you think. Do you agree, anything like that? If you do, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Good luck to Northwood in this game. It's going to be a fun, interesting game, but I think Northwood ends up coming out with the win at the end of the day, and I'll absolutely recap that game as well, what happened, all that kind of stuff, and that'll be out later this week or early next week as well.